Welcome back to Luigi's Mansion 3. We're on the film studio.
Oh,
So,
I like this floor.
so we were talking about failed Nintendo franchises. Star Tropics 3? Anybody? Tropics 3?
Only Anthony wants those. Maybe
I
does he,
still
wait,
need
does
to-
he wait, does he says like Star Tropics?
Yes,
ever
you
since
like Star Tropics.
ever since I watched Nitro Rad's video on Star Tropics, I think it was Nitro Rad anyway. I've had this overwhelming curiosity about the franchise. I really need to play it. It is on the
Yeah, I think
on
I
the
think at least the
Switch.
first one is one of those Switch NES games. It's basically Zelda 1 but weirder and doesn't control as bad. So, it's a clunky
these
game due to its time, but it
references.
certainly has charm to spare.
I
will
like
say.
the movie posters that are spin-offs that are
Yeah,
Mario
they're all the
Kart.
next level games, which I thought
Yeah.
was really cute.
Yeah, I like the reference to Little Mac there on the far right.
Also, okay, so since Mario Strikers is on the screen right now, and I don't know if we'll ever get a chance to talk about it, Mario Strikers is arguably the best Mario sports, and if we could get another one, that would be great.
Waluigi, yeah.
Yeah, because Mario Strikers is just so much fun. It's really like visceral in like a really violent kind of you feel like you actually like punch someone on the face when you whack them in that game. So next level, please have that be your next game is Mario Strikers.
I keep
3.
hearing excellent things about Strikers, but I never had a chance to
It's-
go and play it.
It is so. My tie for favorite Mario sports game is Mario Strikers and Mario Baseball on the GameCube. Both are really, really great, fun
I really
party sports games.
I really, really, really wish that I didn't hate soccer as much as I do, and it has.
I
nothing-
hate soccer in real life, but I love
It-
Mario
it-
Strikers.
It's one of those things where it's more fun to play in a video game than it
No,
probably is in real life.
that's not the thing. Okay, I have a personal hatred of soccer that has nothing to do with the game itself being bad. I will like. I have deep, deep respect for people who actually, are passionate about soccer, but I was forced to endure it as a kid, and I really didn't like sports in general. So
Oh, it's one of those things you hated because you were forced to do it as a
Yes.
kid, and
Yes.
regardless of its quality, you just have a grudge
yes, I
Yep,
can't,
that's me too.
I can't get past it. I'm sorry.
It also doesn't help that I was really bad at soccer as a kid, so they always made me like the defense. So 90% of the
Oh.
game, I was just standing in the back, literally doing nothing. And occasionally the ball would come, and I'm supposed to like just kick the ball away from the goalie, and then I'm back to just standing there, and it sucked. I hated it.
That was me in baseball when I was a kid in Little League, where you're the kid that sucks, so they put you in the outfield where you're in grade school, so the kids just don't have the arm strength
Yeah.
to really get it to the outfield.
Yeah, that's the thing about defense in Little League sports is that, when you're playing at a higher level, defense is a really important and really engaging place to play. When you're playing at a Little League level, you rarely ever have anything to do back there.
High
because
poltergeist reference.
It really gets that far.
Oh, that's a reference to the
Poltergeist.
Poltergeist movie? Okay, I've
Yeah.
never seen it.
That
so-
is an interesting reference to put in a Mario game, I'm going to say.
Well, I mean, if there's a Mario game to put it in, Luigi's Mansion, I suppose,
Well,
is
yeah,
the best fit.
I know. It's just one of those things that the core audience is not going to get, so you're putting it in mainly for the adults that play it that aren't in your core audience.
Which I appreciate.
I appreciate it too, but it's also...
Wait, are you saying that us 20 and 30-something-year-old adult males aren't the demographic for this children's video game?
Now, why would I be saying a crazy thing like that?
Good.
Video games are for children.
Well, I mean,
John.
not strictly speaking.
Not strictly speaking, but I'm pretty sure the ones about cartoon plumbers with big noses and mustaches are.
So actually, that's something that I was thinking about the other day. Nintendo had this image as being for kids in like the 90s and 2000s. Whereas nowadays, I mean, it might just be that people in general are more open about their hobbies now, but I feel like Nintendo has, in the more modern day, shifted from being for kids to just kid-friendly without really changing much of their style.
Part of it is due to their general attitude towards more adult-leaning games, where in the 90s and 2000s, they did not want to even recognize them as existing.
Yeah,
We
games
had our
like
ki- we
Eternal
had our game-
Darkness
we
were
had
the
our-
exception rather
Yeah,
than the
we
rule.
we had it's like, oh, we have our games for kids, and you could play something with an M rating on a Nintendo console, but they did not like to reference its existence or promote it.
They were afraid, basically, that by association, parents would see Nintendo as dangerous for their children's innocence. So
Yeah,
they
so
leaned away from it
by-
hard.
So by extension, it made Nintendo really look super kiddie, and all the teenagers and adults were like, well, they don't care about the games for me, so why should I care about getting their stuff?
In the end, it bit them in the butt, though, which is why they've altered their attitude over time.
Yeah, it's nice to go into a Nintendo Direct and actually have them say, hey, Doom's on our system, or Witcher 3's on our system.
To be fair, it wasn't as if Nintendo was the only game company at the time that had a restrictive attitude like that. See, for example, Sony and their attitude, Sony of America specifically, and their attitude toward non-3D games, which resulted in a lot of genuinely really good stuff not being released over here because it was sprite-based instead of 3D models. Because they wanted to focus on the 3D gaming and get everyone in on that stuff.
Yeah, it's just Nintendo is the biggest name on the block,
Yeah.
and they're kind of the company you look to for image.
Yeah, so I'm glad that we've come to the point where, well, yes, Nintendo is the kid-friendly option. You know, we're not at the point where, oh, you've got a Nintendo Switch? Well, that's so gay, which is what would probably happen if this were 2006.
Yeah.
And you were playing your DS on the bus or whatever. So...
Eh. Well, I wouldn't necessarily say the DS because, well, the DS kind of had a monopoly on being the good.
Oh yeah, that was more of a
good
GBA kind of thing.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't
Where
even...
it's the
To an extent, I don't know, guys, like those hardcore PSP.
Yeah, no, I had plenty of hardcore PSP people in high school.
Yeah.
for what the 2 years that
Oh.
people actually played on their PSP.
Yeah, but it wasn't baby Ted.
Yeah, it had
Not baby.
GTA on it.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't seem to ever remember a time where the PSP was known as a legitimate handheld gaming console and not as a piracy.
It
machine,
was
but-
it was a short period of time, but it did exist because it's you have to remember that because we all remember the DS as a huge sensation that
Well,
did really well, but it stumbled for about a year and a half.
Yeah, but here's the
Yeah,
thing.
and the-
I don't remember
the-
I don't remember the PSP ever being known for anything but later on emulation, but when it was legitimate, mostly JRPGs, and the attitude toward JRPGs around that time was not good.
Yeah, no, most quote unquote hardcore gamers snub their noses. I'm not going to say most, but the stereotype we're talking about snub their nose at games like Final Fantasy X.
Yeah, so the PSP was known as like that machine that had the Final Fantasy VII game on it, and it was it wasn't great.
Yeah. So it was
mean-
definitely a very short period in time, like 6 months, but it did exist.
Yeah, I mean, the PSP, functionally speaking, wasn't a bad handheld. It's just...
It was a
it
really
Nobody
did
gave a shit.
weird.
It was a really good handheld with some really bad thumbsticks, but you know,
Yeah.
you take the rough with the smooth, as the doctor
Yeah,
would
so...
say.
I mean,
I'll
and
stay away
also
from
we make fun of it, but it really is the only system that really competed with Nintendo in any way in handhelds.
I mean,
Yes.
what you had the Atari Lynx, the Game Gear, the Tiger No, it was. I mean, it is still second place, and it did do
And it didn't
better.
do terribly.
Yeah, it did better than anyone else. It's just Nintendo is king of handhelds. They know how that market works.
The Game Gear would have had a better chance if it didn't require a nuclear reactor to run for more than 6 hours.
I mean, what was there to play on the Game Gear though? What was its killer app?
A surprising amount of good, decent games. Not necessarily a killer app, because it was effectively just a portable Master System. It was the 8-bit system, you know, kind of like how the Game Boy was an 8-bit system. It was closer to the
Just black
NES
and white.
than anything.
Yeah.
And how do I put this? 8-bit Sonic the Hedgehog was technically more demanding than 8-bit Mario was. So
Yeah, that's technically true.
So it had it had a rockier relationship with handheld consoles than Mario did.
Yeah, I think the thing is that like objectively speaking, the Game Boy hardware is pretty bad, underpowered even by the standards of its own time. The thing is that they just made good games on it. That like they made 2 or 3 good games on it to start with, like Mario Land, Tetris. I'm sure there was something else. I can't really remember.
I
at
used
the
to
time.
play Pac-Man and Street Fighter on it, and even though the Street Fighter with 2 buttons is just Street Fighter but 30%.
I don't remember that
It was
subtitle.
still, on its own merits, a fun handheld game. So,
Yeah, I don't think any Game Boys were technically comparable power-wise to what was going on other handheld spaces until you kind of got to the GBA, and that was just purely for graphics, not so much sound.
The Game Boy, though, had the benefit of getting revitalized like 3 times because it came out and, people wanted to play it because Mario Land. Then Tetris came out and it was an explosion. And then Pokemon came out and it was an explosion.
Well, it had 3 kind of renaissance breaks because Tetris and Mario Land came out at more or less the same time.
Yeah.
So you had Mario Land and Tetris and it came out and things were good. Then it kind of lagged again.
Yeah.
And then you kind of had the good NES versions, the good portable versions of things like Donkey Kong 94 and Link's Awakening, where, okay, we can have, full experiences on this thing and not cheap little dinky Game Boy experiences.
yeah.
Yeah, so...
And then Pokemon came out and it's like, oh, right, you can actually, do RPGs.
Yeah. And
So,
then...
the gap
And then
between
after that, the
console
Game
and
Boy
handheld
Color
exploded,
came
yeah.
out. And the Game Boy Color's exclusive games, there's actually a lot of them that are pretty decent in their own ways. So, yeah. Granted, going back, I still think that the Game Boy original library isn't really all that deep. Also,
No, it's not.
It's weird that they have a... What Japanese movie am I thinking? The Ring?
The Shining. No, The Ring, you're right, that's sorry.
Yeah,
I was about to say The Shining, but it's The Ring.
Yeah, it's weird that they have a The Ring reference in Luigi's Mansion. But, honestly, the Game Boy library really isn't that deep. It's not until
people
you
keep
get to
going
the
out. It's like,
advance.
oh, I want a Game Boy Classic. It's like, no, you don't.
What the hell? The water in the bucket isn't spilling out.
Yeah, that's a bit weird, but it's like, oh, I want a Game Boy Mini. It's like, what would you play on a Game Boy Mini? You don't want to go back to Pokemon Red and Blue because those games just don't
Wait,
hold up.
the Game Boy Mini, which Game Boy Mini?
I'm talking like if they made like a mini console like they did Super Nintendo and NES.
Okay, I'm going to be that guy for a moment here. While, yes, technically speaking, Pokemon Red and Blue don't hold up all that great, the structure of the game is still mostly a solid RPG.
It's just one of those... It's hard to go back to by today's standards of all the other things. So if you wanted to do a Game Boy Classic sort of situation, the only way you could do it is if you did Game Boy Color, and Game Boy Advance all in one.
Yeah, I could say so, but why would you do that when you can just release the games on the existing console?
I know. I'm just saying
we're kind
that
of
people
past the mini console.
Yeah, I'm just saying since people did ask for it for a while, it's like, okay, so speaking of just Game Boy, not strictly Color or Advance, what the hell would you put on it? You have Mario Land 1, which is a half-an-hour game. You have Kirby's Dream Land, which is a half-an-hour game. You have
the Wario Land series.
You could do that. You don't want to do any of the Donkey Kong Land games because those all aren't good.
Nope, disagree. I will argue
I think they do have their fans, but
yeah,
you would put Donkey Kong 94 before any of those, honestly.
I agree with that.
So, let's say
the land games do have their fans. I think it would make sense.
So, let's say you do both Mario Lands, both Kirby's Dream Lands, one of the Donkey Kong lands, Donkey Kong 94, Tetris, Pokemon. No, they wouldn't get Pokemon. What am I talking about? We're not getting... they wouldn't get Pokemon on that. I guess... I
don't think you would want to do Link's Awakening because you just got a remake on that on the Switch.
I mean,
better in every way.
I don't see how that's
only,
relevant though,
the,
considering that
I suppose,
the NES
okay.
and SNES games have like older versions.
Thinking about it now, I think there is a semi-decent kind of potential for a mini Game Boy thing that has a bunch of games on it, but also like retrofits it with like wireless versions of old Link cable functions and stuff.
Yeah,
that would be. Oh, neat. Like how they did with the. I was really happy when they ported the 8-bit Pokemon games on 3DS, and you could trade.
Yeah,
well, like that made me. Really
yeah. That's one thing. Like having a freely accessible portable version of the old Pokemon games that you can still do trades and Link battles with would be charming. I don't imagine a lot of people would get as halfway as much use out of it as they did back in the day, but it would be fun, and it would also be neat to have a version of those games that doesn't like lose all your save data after a handful of years.
Yeah, that was why I was really happy when Pokemon Gold got ported to the 3DS, because there was legitimately no way to play that game before that.
Just thinking about other titles you could put on like a Game Boy Classic, it's like the only ones I could really think of that would have any real value would be like the handheld Mega Man games, and that's mostly just because of V.
By that you mean 5.
Yes.
I mean V.
Yeah.
I would like the Super... No, that's Game Boy Color, but Super Mario Bros. Deluxe is my preferred way to play the original Mario.
That's also true.
I would agree, but that screen crunch
Dude,
bothers me now more than it did back then.
listen, I know it's hard to go back to, but You versus Boo is a perfect mode, and I will not hear any talk
That's the thing, though,
otherwise.
because I love all the side content of Deluxe.
But actually playing the
Like-
regular main game is not great.
The regular main game, like, despite all of its, like, little, like, neat little nuanced updates, that screen resolution drives me nuts.
Yeah.
So what you need to do, John, is in Mario Maker completely remake Super Mario Bros. Deluxe.
It's like bold of you to assume someone has not already done it, though. That's the thing. Because I'm pretty sure there are like 50 of those, and they all claim to be the only one that did it.
Yeah.
Half of them
If
are
only I could
copying ones
find-
that already existed too.
If only I could find them with the Mario Maker search function, which is terrible.
It still baffles me that it's only now that we're getting the ability to string levels together into actual games. Why?
That actually made me go back to Mario Maker, and it's like you can. And the frustrating thing is that most people have not made a real Mario game, which I suppose makes sense. The functionality was only added a few weeks back, but
like
it's mostly just people stringing their random levels together.
Yeah,
so there's no cohesion.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like if we had that function from the start, people would have been using it better. Like I'm pretty sure. I don't know if Little Big Planet did this before, but okay, it's one thing to create a standalone level that you expect people to play in a vacuum and has its own difficulty level and its own presumptions about the amount of skill that a player has to have when they get to it. Because okay, when you're building a Mario Maker level, what you're assuming is that players have played like 10 billion Mario Maker levels before they get there. When you make a game, the mindset is, okay, we're going to have a starting difficulty point and we're going to go up from there. And we have to pace ourselves because we don't want to get too hard too fast. So you have to string multiple levels together in a way that makes sense on that curve. If we had the function from the start, people would already have been doing that. But since we only just got the function, everyone is just rushing to put their already existing levels together at random. And
The frustrating thing is that you get to some of them. Like, I've tried browsing a few of them. It's like half the levels, from the most popular people, it's just like, here's my auto runner music level, where you hear like the Star Wars theme played with the Mario Maker blocks, and then the next level is some Kaizo difficult challenge stage that they made or whatever. So it's like some levels I'm literally doing nothing in this super
So
world,
they're stringing
and the
together
next I'm
levels-
about to die.
they're stringing.
I mean,
they're
Panga does make levels in Mario Maker.
So they're stringing together levels for no particular reason other than the fact that they're all made by them.
Yeah, pretty
basically.
much.
But
So
there's no sense of storytelling or cohesion.
yeah, so
Yeah,
I'm
which
gonna have
is-
to
which
wait
is
like
fine
3
for-
months to go and actually find something that's a
Yeah.
real game.
Yeah, I was gonna say for right now that's fine because they just haven't had time to do it. But
Yeah, so
It's-
3 months from now there will be some excellent Mario Maker
It's
games
going
on Mario
it's
Maker.
going to muddy the waters when it comes to searching for games, though, because you're going to get games that were built to be games, and then in between them on the search list, you're just going to get someone's perceived greatest hits list of levels I created.
Well, honestly, though, that's nothing new for Mario Maker. You wade through the shit to get the good stuff.
Yeah, I
with
know.
that game.
I'm familiar with the
Those are
mentality. I
words.
am a reader of many fan fictions, after all.
Is
Was it
Mario Maker
Sturgeon's
Mario
Law?
fanfiction?
Yeah.
I mean,
It is!
Yeah, I guess.
Oh my God.
It is like the first Well, no, I guess the first Mario fanfiction ever written would be like whoever the first person who developed Lunar Magic was.
You fail to presume that there were some horny kids in the 80s writing about their Princess Peach erotic fan fiction.
There probably
I'm talking
were.
about I'm talking like game making fan fiction.
I mean, there probably were, Ted, because fan fiction did get its start as people just writing stories for like Star Trek and stuff and sharing them.
Oh no,
in
the oldest
person.
fan fiction, was people writing Sherlock Holmes stuff.
Sherlock Holmes stuff.
Oh, wow, really?
Well,
Yeah.
I didn't know that it went that far back.
Are you talking fan fiction? Or are you talking plagiarism? Because copyright law sucked at the time.
No, people would like write while Americans were waiting for the next books to cross the sea, they would write like their own versions of Sherlock Holmes just to pass the time.
To pass the time. Okay, I didn't know it went back that far. I'm like
Yeah.
the earliest that I heard about it was Star Trek, and people sharing their stories with each other in person at conventions and stuff.
Wow, that is pretty cool, though, to think that it does go that far back.
Yeah, it's a pretty interesting thing, but those tangents and more in the next part of Luigi's Mansion 3.